As for Ag Structures and Metal Technologies, we're going to be talking about shielded metal arc welding, or SMAW for short. A lot of people call it stick welding as well. First, we're going to do a brief overview of PPE, personal protection equipment. You should already know this. You already passed an exam, so this knowledge should be nothing new to you. So first, I'm going to talk about clothing required. You're going to need at least a long sleeve cotton shirt to protect you from the harmful rays of a welding machine. It produces UV rays and you will get sunburned if you are in a t-shirt. So you must have at least a long sleeve t-shirt on. I'm wearing an FR resistant welding shirt. As you can see, it has lots of holes. I rather have holes in this and then in my arm. Stick welding produces a lot of splatter, especially for you newbies. And jeans. You're gonna need 100% denim jeans. Heavily starch is preferred. And then work boots, you're gonna need some type of work boots. Steel-toed is preferred. I have had a piece of sheet metal fall on my foot and bruised me for a couple of weeks, so that hurt. Also, as soon as you walk into the shop, you must have safety glasses at all times, no matter what you're doing. Safety glasses are the #1 priority. It's going to protect you from flying grinding discs that may come off by accident because someone didn't secure it properly. Drill press debris flying in the air, woodworking tools, sawdust flying. So it's going to protect you from that, so you'll have 2 eyes by the time you get home from school. Also, for SMAW, you're going to need gloves. These are what I'm going to be welding with. You can find them at any store. Harbor Freight, I find them for cheap at Harbor Freight. They're about $10. The cheap ones are about $10. They are the Tillman brand, but they have other brands also. And secondly, we're gonna need, for SMAW, we're gonna need a welding hood. This may look different from your hoods you might see in your typical chain store. This is a pancake hood. This is what you'll see in Pipeline. This is my boyfriend's and it's free, so I'm gonna use it. Also, when you're getting a hood, I highly recommend, well, you're gonna have to buy a lens anyways. Get the auto darkening lens. That is for the newbies. It's gonna save your life for welding. It made mine a lot easier. When I first started eye welding with just I don't know, it's called a regular shade, and then I got it auto darkening. And when you start to weld, it'll auto darkening. It'll just completely go dark, and you can see where you're going and see the bead and see the flow you're gonna go at. All right. Oh, and a welding cap. You're gonna need a welding cap. So this goes right here. So I would turn it right here like this. It'll protect you from the UV rays, the sun, if you're working out on the sun, and it'll also protect your hair from splatter and whatnot. All right, this is a Lincoln 1968 Lincoln Arc Welder SA200 DC only welder. This is SMAW process, one of the welding tube for that. You're gonna see this in the pipeline industry and plants, refineries, those type of rigs, and your bigger metal fabrication shops and businesses. So first, you're gonna, if it's a cold start, cold morning, Texas, you don't kind of have to worry about that. You're gonna pull this choke, and then this is the ignition. You're gonna flip it on, and then you're gonna hit start, and it's supposed to crank over. So just pretend it's cranking over. The battery's dead, that's why it's not, and we don't want to buy a new one. Anyway, so we're gonna push the choke in, and it'll turn on. Anyway, so first then you're gonna go over to your idle control. There is automatic idle and high idle. Automatic idle, the idle will will vary depending on when you're welding and when you're not welding. For high idle, it's going to constantly idle, so just imagine a motor just vrooming, vroom, vroom, vroom. Anyways, so that's going to be your idle. And for what we're going to do, we're going to do 60-10 electrode on a 1/4 inch flat steel plate. So for that, this is your amperage adjustment. We're going to go, there's a minimum to 90, and that means amperage from 20 to 90. So that's going to go over, we're going to put that over to 90. And this is your fine current adjustment. So this is your fine tuning of your amperage. It goes 10 to 100. And for 1/4 inch flat steel plate and on a 60-10 electrode, we are going to go to 90. And depending on the metal and the metal thickness, it's only going to go up. And for your more advanced class, so you get your 70-18 rod, you're gonna move this to 130, around 130 to 120, and this will go up to 75. Anyways, and then my cameraman will come back here and I will show you where to connect your ground and your lead. You see the blue and yellow connectors? That is where your ground and lead is going to be. Alright, here's some of the tools. This is going to be your ground. You're going to connect to this connect this to a metal surface around your work area. The closer that is, the better. The further the ground is from your working surface, your magnetism is going to be off in your electrode. And this is going to be your stinger, is what the pipeliners like to call it. And this is going to be your electrode. This is the 60-10 electrode. This is what you're going to start out with. And just for a demonstration, you just open it like this. I like to have mine at a little angle, like this. And you're just gonna weld. And after you lay that bead, lay that dime piece, we have a wire brush to clean it up, clean the surface so it'll look good. You can tap off the extra splattering things, and then your bead should be pretty good. Thanks, guys. This is going to be our special guest in the video. What is your name, sir?
My name is Hugh Jennings.
And Hugh, where did your welding career start? Like, how did you become a welder?
When I was 14, I've been welding all my life. In a rough spot. Went out to go be a helper for about 6 months or so. Not enough money to get a truck. I went and tested out. Got on a job for about 6 months the first time, and rolled on to another one that was about 4 or 5. And from there it just kept rolling and rolling and rolling. Just had jobs and jobs and jobs until about 2 years or so. I went into the plants, doing chemical plants and fertilizer plants and all that stuff. Then went into doing refinery plants, petroleum plants, all that stuff. Went back to pipeline. And went and did a little bit of shipbuilding for a little while. I've done metal buildings, I've done pipe work, I've done live taps. I used to seal off, cap off wells. You pretty much name it, I've done it.
Did you go to school to be a welder?
I didn't. I I actually just have been doing it all my life and just got good enough being a helper that I didn't really need to go to school. I was getting paid to learn. A lot better get paid to learn than have to pay to learn.
Would you recommend students right out of high school to go to welding school?
It's all based on the discipline of the individual. If you can sit down and take a nice course that'll give you some good feedback on just metallurgy and just stuff like that, that'll give you different types of metals and what you can use and all that stuff. And eventually over time doing it, you're going to learn it, but at the same time it's kind of nice to have to be able to learn it then. That way you already have it whenever you go out in the field. But it's based on the discipline of the person.
What advice would you have for people trying to break out their own rig into the pipeline industry or starting their own welding business?
Well, right now, I don't recommend doing a whole lot of that because there isn't a whole lot of work going on. There's nobody really looking for welders. If welders do have jobs, spots are already taken and will be taken for the foreseeable future until something gives. But we as welders can't control that. So I'm doing AC work right now, just to, good money. It keeps you out of trouble, and it's about the same deal. It ain't too bad.
What are the necessities to owning your own rig?
So to run a rig by yourself and be able to make good money, first, you need your welder, whether it be a welder like that one, that's the 200, or you can get the big millers. It's all about a welding machine is all based on how much your income is, how much you're wanting to spend, and how much you're making on the job. If you can only afford a $4,000 welder, only get a $4,000 welder. Don't get anything more than that, because you're just going to end up screwing yourself, and you're not going to be able to pay off that welder or whatnot. If you do have that money to spend that 20 grand, by all means, go get that, because those are dang good machines. That's why they're $20,000. But you can get just about any machine you want. It don't really matter. As long as it works for you. If you can't weld with it, then what's the point of you having it? Whenever you're running out on like a pipeline or something, you usually need like a single acetylene and a single oxygen with the regulators on top. Just for basic little cutting stuff. Usually you're not cutting a whole lot on a pipeline, but just in that case you do, for doing repairs and stuff like that, or if you're doing taps, whatever, you have it, and just doing your own personal projects at the yard by yourself. What else?
What kind of rods do you use on the pipeline?
On pipeline, we usually use 80-10. We root with a 60-10, hot pass 60-10, and then fill and cap with 80-10. Usually about 3/16 rod for fill and cap. Those are big boys.
How much does it typically cost to run a rig?
Depends on the job you're on. If you're on a job where they're paying for ride, consumables, which means, wire brush, wire wheels, grinding rocks, soapstone, all that little stuff that, you just have to buy all the time. I would say roughly you would spend about, if you're running it by yourself, about $200 to $300 a day. Depends on what you're doing, how fast you're running, how hard you're running, but that's about what it's going to cost in the end to run a truck every day, and it depends all on the job too at the end of the day.